This video is purely me giving a thought experiment. I am not advocating for anybody to commit any action in this video. This is just me asking questions. The title is a question. It's a question. I'm just asking a question. Look, see? It's the just kidding star right here, see? And if I'm not, let me be struck by a YouTube copyright strike. And live! Now that we got all that out of the way, let us first define what does piracy even mean. In this context, I'm referring to media piracy, being defined as the practice of downloading and distributing copyrighted works digitally without permission. The name clearly comes from the act of piracy of yesteryear, which is when people stole other people's goods, and the notion that media piracy is just as bad as that has been hammered in hard ever since it was possible to even quote-unquote pirate media. Like every home video copy of a movie begins with an anti-piracy warning from the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And who can of course forget the infamous "you wouldn't steal a car" bumper that was common in the early 2000s.
Which ironically enough, uses pirated music.
The mainstream media really wants to hit hard the idea that media piracy is bad and people who do it are morally bankrupt and evil. But is it really? The first defense that I'm going to hear a lot of you say is, of course it's bad. It's stealing. Is it? I point to you to a very simple song.
Copying is not theft. Stealing a thing leaves one less left. Copying it makes one thing more. That's what copying's for. Copying is not theft. If I copy yours, you have it too. One for me and one for you. That's what copies can do.
And yeah, how is this stealing? Stealing is defined as the action or offense of taking another person's property without permission or legal rights and without intending to return it. What exactly is being stolen? Yes, going up to somebody and taking their copy of the Oogie Loves is bad because you're stealing it from them. Person A stealing a movie from person B is stealing because they are taking that person's property. But let's say person A created a device and that device magically downloaded the movie into his device without stealing the original copy from that person. Again, like, where's the stealing part? Which isn't even really the primary way that people quote-unquote pirate movies nowadays. Sure, maybe in earlier website times when you would literally torrent things, that would be a thing. But nowadays a lot of people just go to websites and then watch it from there. I mean, technically, in that situation, you're not committing the crime. You're not downloading it. You're not distributing it. You're just a watcher. It's not like going to that website and then clicking on a movie will magically make it so that someone else's Disney Plus account magically makes that movie disappear. Disney's just going to do that regardless of whether or not people are quote-unquote pirating it or not. A deflection to maintain the idea that it is theft in some capacity is claiming that doing so is stealing money from the film studio/creators because you didn't buy a ticket or a DVD or a streaming service. You didn't support the official release. Well, then let me ask you a question. Have you ever hung out with a couple of friends and one of them recommends that you all watch a movie or a show that they just really like and you've just never checked it out? And they have a DVD copy of it because they really love it. They put it on, click play, everybody's watching it, everybody's enjoying it. What did you do after the fact? Did you then immediately rush to the store, buy a DVD of the movie so that you can officially support the media? Or did you just simply go home because by that notion, you've technically committed piracy? You have robbed the media companies of the $10 to $20 that they would have had if you had went to buy the movie yourself. Granted, this friend literally showing you the movie is what led you to enjoy the movie, and if they didn't, you would have never seen it. But it doesn't matter. You stole the $20 that film studio needed. Ignoring the fact that you did not steal their money, you just simply didn't give them money. That money was not theirs to begin with. It was your money. Money that, let's be real, they didn't really need, to be fair.
Allow me to give you another example. Have you ever recorded a TV show or movie to watch it later? Whether it be on VHS, Betamax, TiVo, etc. Did you call the companies in question to ask permission before doing so? And before you say those are different, the only reason they are considered different is because of the Supreme Court case Sony Corporation of America v. Universal City Studios Incorporated. Here is a video Mr. Beat did on the subject for more information.
And one last way that they try to deflect this argument to still maintain that it is stealing, it's theft, is the fact that you need to support the official release. You need to buy a copy. You need to buy an account at the streaming service, because if you don't, and you don't go through the normal, regular routes to watch this media, then the film companies will just delete it. They'll cancel it. They'll make it so that it's not available to watch anymore. They literally do that now, and not even for things like exclusively low ratings. The networks and studios will literally just not release things purely from a profit incentive, most commonly using the media as a tax write-off. It's become way more prevalent in the streaming age, but this has always been a thing that has been in the media industry. Cartoon Network has made many highly loved shows tax write-offs after giving them literally no chance to succeed. Hell, that was literally Disney's entire media strategy for a long period of time with the Disney Vault, where they would release a movie in theaters or home video for an extremely limited time and teasing you, you better get it now, because if you don't, you're never gonna see it again. Which was also used as a marketing tool for Disney Plus, because they were saying, it's over. The Disney Vault has finally been opened and it will never be closed again. Except for the fact that they have closed it many times on many productions. Wanna watch Willow? Fresh out of luck, buddy. It's in the vault, and you can't. Heard of this interesting classic game, but don't own the original console it was released on, and/or can't afford it regardless? You better hope the company was nice enough to re-release it at some point, because otherwise, you're completely screwed. And despite the fact that our media industry is literally simply regurgitating the same old tired intellectual property with the idea of taking your money, the idea of simply releasing or re-releasing old properties that people want to see and will be happily to pay to see it and or watch it and or play it, that's a bridge too far. Remember the big development hell that the third piece of the Mother franchise faced, with it finally releasing, it being seen as a holy grail amongst Nintendo fans? And yet, despite the fact that it is a very well-known, very big story that has a lot of people begging for it to be released worldwide, it ain't happening no time soon. They'll gladly make fun of you for the idea that you want it, but they won't just simply release it for some reason, and then we'll get mad at you for making fan releases of it. All of this leading to an actual newfound praise of media piracy. The fact that piracy leads to the preservation of media. Quite literally no arguments there. If it were not for media piracy, a lot of TV shows, movies, video games, pilots, etc. would literally have never seen the light of day. And one very important part of my ideology is the idea that every piece of information, media, etc. that has been created should be readily available for everybody to see. No barriers based on anything, whether it be income, whether it be where in the world you are, anything. I genuinely believe that a person who is extremely poor in China should have the ability to access every piece of information from all across the world in its entire history. It's why I was hesitant to even start a Patreon because of the whole paywall thing, but which leads into one of the biggest barriers that is common for media and information. Money. Since we live in a capitalist society, money drives everything, particularly the media. Sure, you can access most of Disney's library, just a simple $139.99 a year, but there is absolutely no guarantee that anything you want to see on the streaming service will remain there, or the things that you want to release will eventually end up there, and we also have the ability to kill your wife. Man, it sounds so appealing! What's that? You'd actually pay more money if we put this thing that you really want on the service? Well, that stinks for you. We're just not gonna do it for whatever reason. Even though we are literally one of the biggest media companies in the world, and we can literally do anything, there's nothing in the world that could stop us from doing what we want to do, we're just not gonna do it. The notion that a media company, based on profit margins that may or may not even exist, can literally just determine, yeah, this entire person's legacy, we're just gonna beep boop, gone. Take the story of the 1994 Fantastic Four movie. Don't you mean the ones from the 2000s? No, sir, I do not. I'm referring to Roger Corman's 1994 Fantastic Four movie, a film created with the sole intention of keeping the film rights of the Fantastic Four without telling anybody who was involved. The cast and crew were literally on a press tour promoting the movie when Corman got a call to explain that the film was never going to come out, with Marvel Studios themselves going so far as to try and destroy all the copies of it from being seen. But thankfully, bootleg copies remain to this day, leading to it not only to get a cult following, but even to the point where people regard it as one of, if not the, best Fantastic Four movie. Granted, there isn't much competition. And even if these film companies, these media conglomerates, decide that they will be gracious, they will allow you the chance to watch this movie, this show, this whatever, there is absolutely no guarantee that it is going to be the film as it was originally made, with the most well-known story of this being the original Star Wars trilogy, with the last release of the unaltered theatrical run of the original trilogy being in 2006, and it was made intentionally worse than the so-called special editions by being non-anamorphic videos sourced from the 1993 Laserdisc release, which would work well if you were watching it on a 4x3 TV, like was common back in the day, but not if you're watching it in a 16:9 ratio. Not even acknowledging the objectively bad picture quality, but they pull out all the stops for the special edition, which are the only versions that remain available to the public, which not only borderline erases the literal biggest pieces of media phenomena, literally, Star Wars is one of the biggest pieces of phenomena in the media, in sci-fi, in anything. It didn't get there through the special editions, it got there through the original trilogy, and also has the issue of tainting people's perspectives on the original trilogy. I've seen so many people on YouTube say, first time watching Star Wars, I don't know how that happens, but whatever. They want to watch Star Wars for the first time in their history, and I'll watch them react, and I'll cringe because they'll say something that really irks me. One of the biggest things is the praising of the special effects. And yes, the effects in the original Star Wars trilogy are phenomenal. Industrial Light and Magic did a really good job on the effects of the original trilogy. But that's not what they're referring to. They're referring to the bastardized CG add-ons, which you can't really blame them for because it says right there, 1977. There's nothing on there that says these are the special editions, and there's no way for them to see the trilogy as it was originally put out, despite the fact that there is no obstacle for Disney to do so. They could announce right here, right now, tomorrow, that they will be releasing 4K versions of the original trilogy. Except they don't want to. Why not? They would make a ton of money if they did that. And since Disney won't, someone else will. How is this morally wrong? The lost media community is very much hindered in a majority of their searches because their strategy is simply hope that the stuff that they're looking for is just magically out there, and or the people choose to give it up of their own free will, which of course, yeah, that makes sense to a degree. You're not going to go actively encourage people to go steal things, but there are a lot of pieces of lost media that it literally was the only option left for it to be released. Sesame Street episode 847 was a lost media goldmine that was literally forced into being delegated to private broadcast by the American Archive of Public Broadcasting, and when it was leaked, the AAPB blamed the leakers for having to stop showings of it, with many other lost media people frowning on it as well, when it's like, none of you are releasing it anytime soon, so why should we feel bad when someone else decides to do it instead? And the last thing that I think some of you might use to try and get me to rethink my position would be to say something along the lines of, oh yeah, I bet you wouldn't like it if someone pirated your work. To which I say, technically it already happened. Hassan Piker watched one of my videos to thousands of people with a fan channel literally freebooting it to them with ads enabled, which is a violation of the standard YouTube license that is on the video of the time of its release and of the time of this video's release. But due to my views on copyright in general, also the fact that the only way I could actually do anything about it is literally doxing myself, I simply let it go and hope that people who do care about supporting the original work will do something. If not, I'll still more than likely making these videos for free because I genuinely like to do so, which ultimately separates a lot of us from traditional media. Profit means a little to people who are truly passionate about what they do. And I have seen works that are amazing, that have little, if not any, profit incentive. Whereas profit incentive as the primary motivator for most mainstream media, which hasn't been leading to a lot of good results. So I guess to answer the question, is piracy good or bad? Well, if you want an honest answer, all I really have to say is... Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in supporting the official release, go ahead and subscribe to me on Patreon.